friendly organic-based treatments. Their proprietary fertilizer blends and expert soil testing mean healthier grass with fewer chemicals, safer for your family and the planet, with no contracts and guaranteed results. Let your lawn thrive at naturalawn.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting live at 2 p.m. from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing weeknights at 8 p.m. on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk. Welcome to The Gailey Show. I'm your host, John Parker. In studio with me today is Jim Hounds.
Hey, all.
And in the control room, hey, Brett, how are you today?
Hey, doing all right. How about you?
I am well. I gonna have some here. Everybody should talk to Brett today. So we're gonna give away another pair of tickets to Fortune Feimster.
Yeah.
Fortune is going to be at the State Theater this Saturday, May 17th. The tickets, they're gonna. We don't know if they're for the 7 o'clock show or the 9:30 o'clock show. So they're still be determined. But you would get a pair of free tickets. The first caller. Right now, 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. You can call the control room and talk to Brett to get a pair of free tickets to see Fortune Feimster. The show is Taken Care of Biscuits.
I love that.
I know, right?
I could eat a biscuit right now.
I know. I could too.
No disrespect.
I've been a
intended,
big fan of Fortune specials. You can catch up with them on Netflix prior to seeing her. So the first caller gets a pair of tickets to Fortune Feimster, who's going to be at the State Theater in Minneapolis. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. So what is on the show today? What are we going to be talking about? So there is a Cook County Commissioner, Kevin Morrison, who is part of the LGBTQ community in Illinois, has announced a congressional bid. Mm-hmm. A dude in Ohio has burned 100 library books. Fun. The UK's largest pride festivals, 4 of them, have banned the major political parties from participating due to their collapse in support for trans British people. We're going to be talking about that in the second half of the show. But up first, Pope Leo XIV. What do we make about Pope Leo when it comes to LGBTQ issues? So when we talk about his predecessor, Pope Francis, when folks say that Pope Francis was an inclusive pope, they largely point to this. So in October of 2023, Francis wrote a letter supporting the blessings of same-sex unions on a case-by-case basis. In the letter, he wrote, "We cannot be judges who only deny, push back, and exclude." He was writing specifically to a conservative group of cardinals. He concluded, as such, pastoral prudence must adequately discern whether there are any forms of blessing requested by one or several people that do not convey a wrong idea of a matrimony, because when one seeks a blessing, one is requesting help from God. I thought it was just that. But beyond that, he wrote letters of welcome to outreach conferences for LGBTQ Catholics. The letter I'm talking about the same-sex unions, it was a part of a larger publication called the Fiducia Supplicans, which is a Vatican document that officially said priests could bless same-sex marriages under certain circumstances, and didn't back down from that either when there was a lot of pushback within the church. And this I did not know. He actually met regularly with trans Catholics, and apparently was very warm and welcoming to them. And I didn't realize that was something that he had done.
I've heard mixed things about this person, and I don't care who the Pope is or what their views are. But
well, I was just talking about Francis, so the previous Pope.
Yeah, but but you're saying the new Pope is supposed to be better.
No, this is what we're trying to make out here. So okay. A lot of folks are trying to, it hasn't even been a week yet, so folks aren't quite sure what to expect from Pope Leo XIV. So they're kind of going through his past statements. So in 20, and they are not great. In 2012, he expressed dismay at how the media and resulting culture were, quote, expressing sympathy for beliefs and practices that are at odds with the gospel. Apparently, regarding the Fiducia Supplicans about blessing same-sex unions that Pope Francis wrote, Leo hasn't endorsed it, but hasn't rejected it, but has said that the National Bishops' Conference should have the authority to interpret it within their own local cultural contexts, which I would see immediately as, okay, well, religious exemptions that some folks can do it and some folks can't, and this is going to be a universal law. I don't know. So he used to be in Peru as a bishop in the Peruvian city of Chiclayo, and there he openly opposed a government plan to add teachings on gender in school. And he told the Peruvian newspaper Diario Correo, the idea of promoting gender ideology is confusing because it seeks to create genders that don't exist. So God created man and woman, and the attempt to confuse ideas from nature will only harm families and people. What ultimately worries me about that is gender ideology, because only MAGA uses the term gender ideology. Mary, yeah, go ahead, Jim.
I was just gonna say, I worry more about people that can't think for themselves. The thing that keeps ringing in my head, listening to you very politely reporting all of this point of view. And I know a lot of people are doing exactly as you're saying, wondering what indications they're going to get from the Pope. And it's such a long way away from how I live, which is what moral center do I have and what do I think is right or wrong? And I'm astonished how many people in 2025 still need to be told what to think. I don't know that I'll ever get over that. And I'm not undermining what you're saying, because you're right. A lot of people are on pins and needles about it, but I don't need the Pope to tell me how to think. Is that a fair?
Okay, well, that's your personal.
Yes, it is.
There are a lot of LGBTQ Catholics.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yes.
This is a big story that's been happening over the
Yes.
past week. That's why we're
Yes.
covering it.
Yes.
In an interview to NBC News, Marianne Duddy Burke, who is the executive director of the LGBTQ Catholic advocacy group Dignity USA, said that I was actually quite excited to see that Cardinal Prevost had been elected as Pope Leo XIV, and thrilled that he took the name of a pope rooted in social justice. I think what a clear signal to a hurting world that that's where his energy is going to be focused. I also found a lot of hope in his remarks from the balcony, where he talked about God's all-inclusive love without any condition, and where he talked about being a church for all of God's people. That was Marianne Duddy Burke, executive director of Dignity USA, which is an LGBTQ Catholic advocacy group, saying that to NBC News. In that same article, Jason Steedle-Jack, who is a gay Catholic and teaches religious studies as an assistant teaching professor at St. Joseph's University in New York, is quoted in that article saying the church's teaching, even under Pope Francis, remains incredibly homophobic. And that, to me, I think is the larger issue of, whether or not Pope Leo, I guess my question is how inclusive could Pope Leo be, even if he did want to be completely pro LGBTQ in the church? Because the interpretations are there. That would require a completely wholesale change in the interpretation of everything that they do. So
that's why people leave. That's why church is being abandoned by so many fair-minded people, because it's not very pro-human. It's pro other things. It's pro raising money. It's pro controlling women, demeaning them. But it isn't pro-human. At least I know there are exceptions, but in the main, organized religion is half of our problem, in my opinion. So I'm amazed, how the media looks at everything that happened 30 years ago and says, my gosh, what an outdated, outmoded, old-fashioned thing that is. And then they blather about the Pope, which is an institution that's existed for 1,000 years, and they treat it with importance. And I can't figure out why they don't see their own hypocrisy in
Well,
that.
again, there are a lot of LGBTQ Catholics, Jim, and they are listening to this show as well.
Yeah,
So we report the news, and it is
news. I agree.
a huge. I mean, it is a huge institution, whether
It
you
is a huge
subscribe
institution.
to the belief
Yes.
system or not.
Yes, it is a big
And-
machine. Yes,
yeah.
it is. I worked for College of Saint Scholastica, so I know as well as anyone what that machine is like. And yes, it is a big machine. You're right. Whether we need the affirmation of some guy in Italy whose whole thing is going to be maintaining that machine, that's what he's expected to do. If he does something radical, wouldn't that be exciting? Because you're talking about we need leaders with big ideas. So I'd love to see a big idea about LGBT rights from Pope, whatever his name is. Leo, you said?
Mhm.
I'd love to see that. That would be how exciting that would be. I'm not going to stay up tonight to see if it happens, but that'd be very exciting.
Well, I mean, that's the for me, several Catholic groups have been very, bishops and whatnot. I know here in Minneapolis, the bishop in St. Paul, who ultimately was, run out of town because he had been abusing children, was very much against LGBTQ marriage. And so I think the larger political question is that the Catholic Church does insert itself into U.S. politics about our rights.
No
Okay, so
question.
we can agree on that.
No question.
And so what the Pope says ultimately, though, decides like how are they going to get involved in our political system here. And so I think that's why people are trying to parse out what he is or isn't going to do. I think, there was a complete upending of the definition of marriage when Pope Francis was like, hey, you can bless same-sex unions on a case-by-case basis. If that had become canonical law, is that how they say it? Then that would radically change how the Catholic Church in the United States is engaging in our political system. So I think that there is validity in seeing what the Pope is going to do, because that does have huge impacts on us, whether or not we are Catholic here based on our political system. We're going to take a short break here. You can check out more progressive news and analysis at am950radio.com and heartlandsignal.com. You're listening to The Gailey Show.
The Stronger Together Pride Benefit Concert and Dance Party is coming to the Granada Theater in Uptown on Thursday, May 30th, and it's one night with a whole lot of heart. Hosted by Nina D'Angelo, this 21-plus event features live music from Ryan Cabrera and a high-energy dance floor driven by DJ Shannon Blowtorch. It's an incredible celebration, but it's also a fundraiser with a whole lot of impact. This year, Twin Cities Pride is facing a $200,000 funding gap after losing major sponsors. This event is a powerful way for the community, supporters, allies, and everyone who believes in Pride to step up and help close the gap. There are multiple ticket options available, from general admission to premium experiences. So however you show up, you're making a difference. Presented with support from the Car Guy Concierge. Find tickets and event info at tcpride.org. That's tcpride.org. Celebrate, support, and help power what comes next, because we are stronger together.
Everyone wants to maximize their dollar. If you're looking for a new vehicle, the only place to go is Rudy Luther Toyota. Consumer Reports Best of 2025 edition has the most reliable vehicles as Toyotas. The Toyota Corolla, RAV4, and RAV4 Prime top the list of the most reliable cars. And Toyotas are fuel efficient, meaning less money at the pumps. Consumer Reports Best of Gas Mileage ranking has the Prius Camry, Corolla Cross Hybrid, RAV4 Hybrid, and the Highlander Hybrid top of their classes. Reliability and fuel efficiency, you'll find them both at Rudy Luther Toyota, 5 miles west of Minneapolis on 394.
Meet Jordan Berman, a charming single gay man in New York City who would love to be in love if only Mr. Right would swipe right. Between singles night happy hours and bachelorette blowouts, Jordan watches his girlfriends get engaged one by one, asking, what's next for him? Dive into the highs and lows of modern love and significant other, opening May 30th at the Main Street stage in Anoka. Tickets start at $43. Visit lyricarts.org. Lyric Arts, theater with character.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. Warm weather is here. Maybe you're getting ready for a graduation party over at the house. There's a lot coming up as summer nears. Your house isn't ready, so that's why you need to call my cleaning heroes at Zero Res right now. Zero Res can handle every surface in your home: carpets, tile and grout, hardwood, laminate, stone, upholstery, rugs, and air ducts. Zero Res has both been out to my house and out here at AM 950 in our studios in recent months. They did such a fantastic job. They were on time, professional, and courteous. They got the stains out that we didn't think would come out here at the station. This month, get 3 rooms Zero Resified from Minnesota's #1 carpet and air duct cleaner and take 20% off all services. That's right, 20% off all services. But you need to go to ZeroResMinnesota.com or call 9520-RES and ask for the AM 950 special. 20% off all services all month. That's Zero Res. Backward or forward spells the same.
Welcome back to the Daily Show. I'm your host, John Parker. It is about 21 minutes past the hour. A gay Cook County Commissioner, Kevin Morrison, has announced a congressional bid. So yesterday, Cook County Commissioner Kevin Morrison announced his candidacy for Congress in Illinois' 8th Congressional District. In a press release, he wrote, as the grandson of immigrants and a member of the LGBTQ plus community, I never saw people like me in leadership growing up. That is why it matters so much to me to announce that I am running for Congress. As a Cook County Commissioner in 2018, he made history as the first openly LGBTQ plus and also the youngest ever commissioner. This according to the Windy City Times. He was also the first Democrat to represent his district as the chairman of the Technology and Innovation Committee, the Human Relations Committee, and the Emergency Management and Regional Securities Committee, as well as the vice chair of the Forest Preserve Finance Committee. He has been a leader, this according to the Windy City Times, on mental health, small business, the environment, public safety, and tenants' rights. He has received endorsements from the following, not inclusive list, but Maggie Trevor, also a Cook County commissioner, Bill McLeod, who is the mayor of Hoffman Estates, Paula McCombie, who is the mayor of South Barrington, Daniel Herbrard, Daniel, president of the Forest Preserve District of DuPage County. So we will obviously be watching to see what Kevin's platform is and what he is running on in the Illinois 8th Congressional District.
I'm sure WCPT already has had him on or will, but that would be a fun interview to have.
Oh yeah, we will be putting that out there.
Yeah.
There's all these folks that are running for Congress. I think for me, I really want to wait until I start to see platforms and issues, right, that folks are running on. I think that's obviously, I'm a former journalist and a policy wonk, so I love talking about issues.
But like I said,
beyond just someone's running.
Like I said about Angie Craig, we're inclined to support you, Kevin. We're leaning in your direction.
We will not be endorsing until way close to the election.
But you know what
itself.
I mean. Just the fact, in this environment with all the baloney going on, for somebody to stand up and say, "Hey, I know there's people going to throw, insults my way, and I could care less." That's leadership. And to our earlier conversation, I think what frustrates me about church is how little leadership we see from church at this time when we really need compassionate leadership from anybody. And if it comes from Pope Leo, great, but I'm not seeing it from organized religion. I'm seeing compliance and, in fact, encouragement for the awful things that are happening. So forgive me, anybody that I'm insulting about your religious choices, but I'm looking for leadership and I'm not seeing it. Okay, there, I'm off my soapbox.
Oh, wow. Yeah. You can take that soapbox away.
Okay.
But yeah, again, I look forward to learning more about Commissioner Kevin Morrison's campaign.
Yes.
And we will definitely try to book him to be on the show to talk about his platform. And just, I mean, for folks to know, we will, but we allow ourselves the opportunity to endorse candidates, but we usually don't do that until closer to the elections.
Yeah.
Because we want to see, what their platforms are and how they're running. I personally probably won't endorse in the Minnesota Senate race during the primaries, because I want to see what what happens in the actual general. I think folks cater to primary voters knowing that that's not going to be their final positions, which always makes me a little wary about primary campaigns, because I'm like, who are you catering to just to get to the vote? And then you're going to, what are you going to toss now that you've gotten the nomination or the endorsement?
Again, and I'm sure everybody in a particular group feels this sort of tendency to say, well, he's gay, so he's already 3 steps up the ladder without doing anything, which I know is a form of bias, and I'm biased in favor of him. But we'll see what he says and what other folks say. But it's exciting. Good job.
Yeah.
I admire that, and I encourage more people to do the same thing.
We need more LGBTQ representation
to turn this
We do.
Sinking Queen Mary around. We've got to get
we do. And it's
more LGBT.
Also fair to say that LGBTQ candidates aren't necessarily perfect on all of the issues.
No.
I know that, Representative Craig has taken positions that I disagreed with.
Yep.
I'm sure Commissioner Morrison has as well. I'm sure if I was in office, there'd be things I'd be going for. So I think that's just the thing, is having a conversation with them to see where they're at with their policies.
That's right.
Turning to before I leave that story, though, we are going to have Christopher Kane on tomorrow, who is the White House correspondent for the Washington Blade. And Christopher is actually working on a story right now of a Chris Pappas, who is a congressman in New Hampshire and out and is running for their open U.S. Senate seat in New Hampshire. So we'll be having him on. It's interesting that if Angie Craig and Chris Pappas were to win, that would triple. What is it when you go from 1 to 3? Is that triple?
It's like 200% or something.
Double? Well, it's not double. So yeah, it'd be triple.
It's triple.
The amount. Thank you, Brett.
Thank you, Brett.
The number of LGBTQ senators in the U.S. Senate.
Let's never talk about math extemporaneously.
I am gay. I don't have to do math.
Oh, gosh. All right, then. Somebody write that down.
I tried that in stats class in grad school. It didn't work very well. They were actually even harder on me.
See?
But it worked. I was excellent at stats. I could create all sorts of formulas in Excel spreadsheets. But anyway, we're looking forward to Christopher Kane joining us tomorrow to talk about that U.S. Senate seat. I'm going to start the story now. We'll continue it after the break because we're coming up on one here. But in Ohio, in Beechwood, Ohio, which is a city that's southeast of Cleveland, a gentleman walked into the Cuyahoga County Public Library, checked out 100 books that were about LGBTQ plus education, African American history, and Jewish history, and then allegedly burned them and posted the video to social media. Now, fun fact, an estimated 85.9% of Beechwood, Ohio residents are Jewish. And of course, Ohio has no hate crime laws protecting LGBTQ people.
Of course
or
not.
the free speech of people writing about the LGBTQ plus community in any type of positive way.
Sure.
The person in question went to the Beechwood Library branch on the 2nd of April, applied for a library card, and checked out 50 books. And then there's a group called the Princeton University Bridging Divides Initiative that monitors and reports suspected hate crimes on social media. So they were, they were doing their thing. And that's when they noticed that this guy had posted of a day after checking out the books, a trunk full that he said he's going to cleanse from the library and burning fire. We're going to take a break here. More to come on The Gailey Show.
Mornings can be tough, unless, of course, you're listening to The Stephanie Miller Show every weekday morning from 8 to 11 on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Now is the perfect time to prepare for summer reading, and Next Chapter Booksellers can help. Not sure what to get? The friendly staff at Next Chapter Booksellers are great at making recommendations to find books that fit your taste. Next Chapter Booksellers also hosts many book readings and meet and greets with authors. And they sell a wide variety of puzzles and games, too. So stop by the store off Snelling and Grand in St. Paul or place an order online at nextchapterbooksellers.com.
Chanhassen Dinner Theaters brings you its most popular show of all time, Grease. You'll hear all your favorite hits from the Broadway musical and the movie. Join the whole gang at Rydell High. We'll sing, we'll dance, we'll bring you back to high school life in the 50s. Poodle skirts, bobby socks, the soda shop, and drive-in movies. Grease, it'll rock your socks off. Order your tickets today. Visit chanhassendt.com.
Boldly challenging ableism is here to go where some people won't. I'm Katrina Simons, and every week I'm digging into the real impact of ableism, breaking down myths, calling out barriers, and pushing for a world where disabled people belong in every space. With my work at the University of Minnesota's Institute on Community Integration and a lifetime of lived experience, I'm diving into everything from employment and housing to justice and culture. And yeah, I bring some humor and heart along the way.
Boldly Challenging Ableism debuts on Sunday, May 18th at 2 o'clock on AM 950.
AM 950 KTN up, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
When was the last time you had your roof inspected for extreme weather and hail damage? This is Chad, owner of AM 950, to talk about the exterior construction company I trust, Snap Construction. If you've noticed new roofing projects in your neighborhood, your home was likely hit by hail last summer and experienced damage. Snap Construction is helping homeowners like you, and they're the roofing specialists I trust. They are the most well-reviewed contractor in the Twin Cities and have a ton of positive customer reviews from homeowners just like you. Even better, Snap Construction's installations are backed by a lifetime warranty, so you know you're dealing with a qualified roofing expert. You want to work with a company that will be here for a long time after the work is done. Snap Construction has handled thousands of claims and will help you through the process. Do yourself a favor and get a free roofing inspection so you have the facts and peace of mind you deserve. Call Snap Construction today at 612-333-SNAP. That's 612-333-SNAP, or visit snapconstruction.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 89. Tonight, clear with a low around 64. And Wednesday, sunny with a high near 87. Savor the excellence at Maverick's Real Roast Beef in Roseville. Elevate your taste buds with their range of sandwiches from the savory Philly steak to tempting turkey bacon avocado. Explore crispy chicken, fish, brisket, and pulled pork options. Check out mavericksbeef.com or visit them off Lexington and Roseville.
Broadcasting live in the 2 p.m. hour from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing weeknights at 8 p.m. on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Welcome back to the Gailey Show. It's about 33 minutes after the hour. I am your host, John Parker, joined in studio by my executive producer, Jim Pounds. I've got some news packages, some news reporting from New Mexico and South Dakota. But before we get to those, real quick, I want to finish this story about a guy in Ohio, Beechwood, Ohio, who burned 100 books from the library. So these were books from the Cuyahoga County Public Library. Cuyahoga County Public Library went in.
Cuyahoga?
Cuyahoga?
I think so.
I'm great at the talking and the words today. Went in, got a library card, checked out 50 books, and then proceeded to say on social media that he was going to burn them. Then went back in and got a week later and then got 50 more books, and then is posting on social media. The second time when he went in, he said that he had a gay son and that he was trying to learn more about it, and then, went and burned them. Weirdly, The 100 books were valued at about $1,700, but because they're not overdue, the library is going to wait until they're overdue, and then they're going to send a bill to the guy for the $1,700, which in my mind, I was like, well, if you have the video of it, then report it to the cops and go arrest it. Now, the cops do know about it. The police said that because a contract was entered into when the books were borrowed, that failure to return or pay for them does become a civil matter that would go to the city prosecutor. But it would just seem to me that if you have video of this person burning books, that you would immediately report that. I mean, aren't books as part of a public library state property?
Well, it's destruction of property that doesn't belong to you. So what is that? Vandalism, or I don't know. But imagine again the hubris that says, I'm going to destroy something so that somebody else. We hear that same illogic over and over again. My religion allows me to tell you what you can do, how you can think, whether you can have a child, and it's the ego, the super ego, and of course many of them support the superist ego in the White House. There's this like a similar mental thing going on. It seems like
the entitlement to think that you can go and just
privilege
books and burn them.
Right. We've always done that way, that kind of thinking.
Yeah. Turning to the Public News Commission. So got a couple reporting packages for you from New Mexico and South Dakota. A New Mexico LGBTQ plus advocacy group is pushing for new data privacy laws. Roz Brown with New Mexico News Connection has more.
Anyone who uses a cell phone or laptop shares hundreds of personal data points, and a New Mexico advocacy group wants that information better protected. Nathan Saavedra with Equality New Mexico says personal information such as gender, marital status, household income, and educational level are cataloged by tech organizations and data brokers.
We see data privacy as the primary gap that exists, especially in New Mexico, for protecting all people. And this is especially true for LGBTQ folks, women, or anyone who is seeking reproductive or gender-affirming healthcare, immigrants, political dissidents.
Two privacy bills introduced in New Mexico's legislative session this year, the Community Safety and Privacy Act and the Patients Records Privacy Act, failed to pass. He believes when it comes to sharing data, consumers should always have the ability to opt in rather than opt out, which assumes consent for data gathering unless users actively decline. Saavedra admits the term data privacy can be confusing, but he says the current political climate makes it important to understand because hostile agencies can use information to discriminate, harass, and persecute people. He notes at President Donald Trump's inauguration last year, the most exclusive seats were reserved for powerful tech CEOs, who also are among the world's richest men. He sees it as a sign the Trump administration won't prioritize confidentiality.
So we see data privacy and the information that is viewable by these data brokers or any organization or even an individual who wishes to purchase or find this data is a main priority for protecting vulnerable New Mexicans.
He adds, Equality New Mexico will continue to push lawmakers to pass new data privacy laws. A 2023 Pew Research Center survey found 71% of Americans were worried about government use of people's data. Additionally, 67% said they understand little to nothing about what companies are doing with their personal data. This is Roz Brown, New Mexico News Connection. Find our trust indicators at publicnewsservice.org.
And thank you to New Mexico News Connection and Roz Brown for that reporting. It is something that keeps coming up over and over again, the data protection stuff. And I know that in Illinois, Governor Pritzker just passed, well, in the legislature just passed laws limiting the amount of data related to folks living with autism or caring for folks living with autism that would be given to the U.S. government because, you know, senior psychopath.
Yeah, and because
who's in charge of Health and Human Services, who doesn't understand health at all.
Right.
We don't want him creating a database of folks.
But the big banana split set up Doge to go into the Social Security and they have all of our information. Literally, the person that this country elected has stolen everyone's data, or a South African that works for him has stolen everyone's data. So more than 71% had better be concerned about privacy, because I think it was just breached for nearly everyone, unless you don't have a social security number. So yeah, the cow, I think, is out of the barn.
How do you turn that data
I
back
don't
in
know.
and destroy it?
I don't know. I don't know.
Speaking of the federal government, so a news package from South Dakota, LGBTQ plus youth advocates want a crisis line shielded from proposed cuts in the federal budget. Mike Moen with the Greater Dakota News Service has the story.
LGBTQ plus advocates in South Dakota are reeling from passage of another state law they say harms their community. Now there's concern possible federal budget changes could eliminate a tool that serves as a sympathetic ear. The Trump administration's emerging federal spending plan includes possible cuts to funds that cover a specialized service under the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. This sub-feature gets routed calls from LGBTQ youth who've expressed suicidal ideation. There are unknowns about what service disruptions would look like, but in a worst-case scenario, Rachel Poland of Sioux Falls Pride says not having someone on the line who understands them would be a blow.
Some of these kids don't have any supportive voices in their life. They are exploring an identity that maybe they came out and were rejected by family or friends in their area.
The Trevor Project says LGBTQ youth are 4 times as likely to attempt suicide than their peers. The group is among those reporting the White House's plans following a leaked memo. The Health and Human Services Agency is undergoing a major reorganization officials say aligns with the vision of its new secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. The specialized 988 service has logged more than 1.2 million crisis contacts since its launch. The news comes several weeks after South Dakota's governor signed a bill that prohibits trans students from using communal facilities that match their gender identity at public schools. The governor says it represents freedom from a woke agenda, but Poland says affected youth might feel even more isolated as a result, and potentially losing easier access to a trained voice to hear them out could make things even worse.
Especially in our rural areas in South Dakota, where counseling services might not be acceptable for some of these youth, acceptable or accessible. I could definitely see more tragedies, self-harm, suicidal behaviors, and unfortunately more deaths could occur.
Advocates say that's why it's even more important to maintain the crisis service for this population. Congress does have a say in the next budget, and it's unclear how the administration's push for cutting discretionary funds will play out when those talks ramp up toward the October 1st deadline. This is Mike Moen for Greater Dakota News Service. Find our trust indicators at publicnewsservice.org.
And thank you to Mike for that reporting. And there, what the governor was saying, freedom from the woke ideology or whatever. And I'm like, how do I have freedom from you?
Well,
like, why are you so obsessed with us? Why?
What frustrates me about even the reporting of this is we talk about it in very careful ways, that this might be taken away and that it could result in, some tragedy. If you take away something that saves lives, you're threatening their life. You're saying it's okay if they die. That's the Republican agenda. It's okay if gay kids die. When you take away food stamps, you're saying it's okay if poor people die. It's the Republican agenda to let poor people die. And by not stating it clearly, we can all kind of, it's a policy thing and maybe this will happen and I don't know. But the intention is for people to suffer as a result of taking these things away. And I think it's incumbent on you and I too, John, to say to people, we don't know what's going to happen, but why would you take it away? If it's helping someone, it's because you want to harm them. It is your intention to harm. And a lot of people voted for Republican policies that deliberately harm people. And they should spend some time looking in the mirror about that. I know I've said that before, but I'm going to keep saying it. I know it's not our audience probably, but it's people related to you. It's friends and people you know. They advocated to harm gay kids. They advocated to harm poor people. They advocated to harm seniors. They advocated to harm people of color. And we should be very clear, in my opinion, about that, instead of trying to tiptoe around it and be so cautious about it. I said I wasn't. That's my second soapbox. I'll stop now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I guess my response to that would be that they believe queerness is a choice, and that if you create a negative, hostile environment, you won't make the choice to be queer,
Right.
or trans, or non-binary. And
Yeah.
that is the so if you're calling a helpline to help you be a better, healthier queer person, they clearly don't want that to exist. They want the stigma to be there so that you don't choose to be queer.
So
And
you're saying they should kill themselves. That sounds like
I don't think that they're
tiptoe-
necessarily saying we want children to do this. Is creating a whole bunch of trigger warnings. I think what they're saying is that let's make it as difficult and hard as possible so that people don't choose to be queer. And that is the problem that they don't understand about what it is to live as a queer person on this planet, is that, we're not choosing this. This is just who we are.
Right.
So interesting fallout continues in the UK based off of their Supreme Court's decision related to gender, and how they removed protections for trans people from the Equality Act in the UK. The organizers of the four largest Pride festivals, so this is the Birmingham Pride, Brighton Pride, Manchester Pride, and London Pride, have collectively come together and said that they are suspending political party participation from this year's Pride events unless the needs of trans folks are urgently addressed. They said that they are not going to stand by as the dignity, safety, and humanity of our trans siblings are debated, delayed, or denied. So this includes the Labour Party, which is their version of the Democratic Party, who is currently in control of the government and a Labour prime minister. They are banned from participating in Pride events there. And the Prime Minister Starmer, sort of taking a Governor Newsom approach here, said that the Supreme Court, by saying that men are men because of their genitalia and women are women because of their genitalia, and that's it, he was like, he basically thanked the court for providing clarity on the issue, and that that was the correct decision, and let's move on. And not realizing the chaos that has unleashed for folks and organizations of how do you respond now and what's going to happen. So very interesting that a Pride would go so far as to say we are banning all political parties. I think that is great. So we will keep our eye on that story and see what happens, and if any of the parties actually will turn it around in time to participate in Pride. We have one last break to get to, but still lots to cover here on The Gaily Show.
The Stronger Together Pride Benefit Concert and Dance Party is coming to the Granada Theater in Uptown on Thursday, May 30th, and it's one night with a whole lot of heart. Hosted by Nina D'Angelo, this 21-plus event features live music from Ryan Cabrera and a high-energy dance floor driven by DJ Shannon Blowtorch. It's an incredible celebration, but it's also a fundraiser with a whole lot of impact. This year, Twin Cities Pride is facing a $200,000 funding gap after losing major sponsors. This event is a powerful way for the community, supporters, allies, and everyone who believes in Pride to step up and help close the gap. There are multiple ticket options available, from general admission to premium experiences. So however you show up, you're making a difference. Presented with support from the Car Guy Concierge. Find tickets and event info at tcpride.org. That's tcpride.org. Celebrate, support, and help power what comes next, because we are stronger together.
The Council on LGBTQIA2S+ Minnesotans is conducting a community needs survey. Data from the survey will be used to make recommendations to improve LGBTQ people's health and well-being in Minnesota. The survey is confidential, and you can fill out the survey at mnqt.info/survey or in person by going to Queermunity on Hennepin Avenue in Minneapolis. Our community's needs and stories have seldom been well told. You can change that by completing the survey by May 31st. mnqt.info/survey.
Hi, I'm Philip Anthony, host of the Downright Upright Show, airing right here on AM 950 radio, Saturdays at 5 p.m. Join me as I dive into captivating conversations with people from all walks of life. As a proud member of the LGBTQ community, I celebrate diversity and beyond with unique stories that make us fantabulous. Please join me every Saturday at 5 p.m. or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Are you remote workers putting your company at risk? Not sure what steps to take to secure your data? Hi, Mark Sommerfeld from Rymark. The Rymark team is guiding our clients through these difficult times. In fact, demand has been so high, we created an easy-to-follow guide with the 5 steps to securely work from home. It's yours free. Download our 5 steps to securely work from home now at rymarkit.com or call 651-328-8900 for a no-cost how-to discussion.
Be part of something new at History Theater with the premiere of Whoa Nellie, the outlaw king of the wild Middle West. This original musical follows Nellie King, a daring and complex figure whose life defied expectations in the 1800s. Packed with vaudeville style, humor, and heartfelt moments, it's a bold look at fame, identity, and truth with surprising relevance today. Whoa Nellie runs May 17th through June 8th in downtown St. Paul. Tickets and details at historytheater.com. That's historytheater.com.
Welcome back to the Daily Show. It's about 9 minutes before the top of the hour. Good news. So we actually have another pair of tickets to give away to Fortune Feimster. Fortune Feimster Taking Care of Biscuits. This, I can't do the accent. I can't, but it's Taking Care of Biscuits. Saturday, May 17th here in Minneapolis at the State Theater. The tickets will be either for the 7 p.m. showing or the 9:30 p.m. showing. They'll deal with that at the box office, but you can call in. Our number is 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. The next caller will get a free pair of tickets to see Fortune Feimster.
Let's talk about the State Theater a little bit. You and I have been there 3 times, something like that. I love its relative intimacy, and I know it's a big house and all of that, but it's pretty, what is the word? I'll say squished. That isn't quite right, but it's tall. Does that make sense? So the seats in the back or in the balcony are actually closer because it's such a tall space. I don't know if that makes sense. So we saw All Is Calm, for example, there. I believe that was there, and we saw Book of Mormon. There we've seen
it's a very
few things
tight rake.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. So
even if you're way up high, you're still sort of like right there looking down on the audience.
It's surprising given that
the stage.
I'm sure it has 1,000 seats or something, but it's pretty intimate, and it would be great to see her. I wish. I want somebody in our audience to get the tickets. But
her newest special, Good Fortune, was on Netflix last October, and Sweet and Salty, I think, is also on Netflix as well. She's hilarious, and I really enjoy it. She's been obviously on Chelsea Lately for folks who've been following her career. Has been on The Late Night with Seth Meyers and done sets on Conan on his show. Obviously done has done a lot of guest starring on a variety of shows: Two Broke Girls, Workaholics, Glee, Tales of the City, etc. RuPaul's Drag Race. So 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. I keep saying the number because I want to make sure we give away this pair of tickets before we get out of here for the end of the show here. Fortune Feimster this Saturday at the State Theater in Minneapolis. And the Illinois folks are like, move on. So we're going to move on.
Never mind.
This week on Apple TV Plus, Murderbot debuts.
Yes.
And it is a wildly successful and wildly popular sci-fi series. And it is about a team of scientists that are conducting surface tests on a distant planet, and they're shadowed by a company-supplied security unit. But this sec unit has hacked its own governor module, so it's liberated itself. It's scornful of humans, though, and all it really wants to do is be left alone to figure out who it is and binge watch TV. But when a neighboring mission goes dark, it's up to the scientist and their murder bot to get to the truth. And Skarsgård, Alexander Skarsgård is starring as Murderbot.
Do we really have to know anything else? I mean, that's
I mean, there you go. But on our show, our podcast rather, This Queer Book Saved My Life, the newest episode that dropped today, we are actually talking with the author, Martha Wells. So our guest is Esme from Firestorm Books. So we're currently in the middle of a limited series where all of the guests are LGBTQ owners or staff or managers at queer bookstores.
And Esme is
or bookstores with very queer,
Esme is in North Carolina, I believe.
Yes, Firestorm Books is in North Carolina. Let's see here. Firestorm Books is a collectively owned radical bookstore and not-for-profit event space in Asheville, North Carolina. And since 2008, they have supported grassroots movements in Southern Appalachia while developing a workplace on the basis of cooperation, empowerment, and equity. So Esme wanted to talk about Murderbot. Martha joined us for the conversation. I think the major question that Esme was asking as she was reading Murderbot for the first time was, what would it feel like for other people to love me if they were to truly see me and to truly know me as I am right now? And she had just this epic quote in there, and I'm paraphrasing it a little bit for time, but they say in there, as a person who is socialized to be a woman with all the expectations that entails, getting married to a man, having babies, but then realizing you can leave that all behind and go on an adventure with a ragtag band of queers. It's a great episode to talk about. And Martha gets into masking as a neurodivergent person and writing utopia/dystopia. You can also hear what does Martha think about the miniseries that's coming up here on Apple TV Plus. She was involved in the production. It wasn't they paid her money for it and then went off and didn't consult her. They did consult her, and so she's got feelings. I know Esme said in the episode that she had at least one nightmare about how the miniseries was going to be terrible. So
well, and can I give you a compliment? That kind of interview is never easy. You don't know these people in advance. You're talking about things like neurodivergent and things that are not easy to talk about necessarily, but you make it an engaging and a very honest and very simple conversation that people are drawn into. You do it with a different kind of aplomb. You have a lot of skill, and I think you should know that.
Oh, well, thank you. And you make it all happen. I mean, people just come in to talk to, they say they want to talk to us, but this is going to turn into a love fest. But I mean, all the stuff that, the very difficult stuff that doesn't get to be, shown on air is what Jim does to make that podcast possible. And it is largely the reason of why we had a GLAAD Media Award nomination. So you can check out This Queer Book Saved My Life episode with Martha Wells, author of Murderbot, featuring our guest Esme from Firestorm Books. It is available everywhere that you get your podcasts, and then you can watch the debut of Murderbot on Apple TV Plus this week. Thanks everyone for listening today. The Matt McNeil Show is up next for folks in Minnesota. Stay tuned after that for Native Roots Radio. And until tomorrow, keep it queer, America.
Keep it queer.
Hey, it's Tom. As the birds begin to sing and the days grow longer, there's no better time to spring into